Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to Fort Wayne on the Move with Councilwoman Michelle Chambers. I have been waiting to do this particular interview for a few months now. I am very excited that we have the opportunity to speak with our local reporters, journalists, and this is a conversation that I think that we should be having in the current climate. They're all equally amazing reporters, journalists in their own right, and this evening you get to meet them personally. Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
Welcome. Thank you for saying yes to this opportunity to sit down and just have an amazing conversation with me this evening, morning, afternoon. Well, actually, it's afternoon for us. So we have Ella, Devan, and Ethan. If you would introduce yourselves, first and last name. Oh, full disclosure, I've been interviewed by all of them before. Great. Okay. If you can take the time to introduce yourself and tell us what medium that you work in and what company you're with.
Yeah. Do you want us to go this
Go
way?
start over there.
All right. Okay. I am Ella Abbott. I am a multimedia reporter with WBOI. We are the NPR affiliate in town and the public radio station, which means that we get to do things a little differently than a lot of the media in town. Not necessarily better, not necessarily worse, just different. And it's been so fun to be here. I've covered everything from, I wrote about a baby giraffe being born today, and I also wrote about city council, so it's the broad spectrum of it all.
Thank you, Devan.
I'm Devan Filchak, Metro and Enterprise Editor at the Journal Gazette. I started out as a local government reporter, so I got pretty close to city council, and now I have a much wider view of the newspaper.
She still moonlights at council, though. Don't let her fool you.
I know, I was going to say she's
We've got her on Tuesdays.
I just do a little bit of everything.
I love it, everything. Thank you for being here.
I'm Ethan Dahlen. I work for Wayne 15. We're the CBS station in town. We are owned by Nexstar on the media side. I anchor the morning show on the weekends, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I do a lot of city government, but very technically I'm general assignment. So if something happens, I might be there.
Awesome. So you all are the people who are usually behind the computer, behind the camera, the microphone. Tell me, Devan, I'll start with you and pitch it to the other two. Just hop in when you feel like it. Tell me your why. Tell me about if I have a young person that's going to watch this interview, tell me about that decision you made to become a reporter, and what did you have to do from a college perspective to be a reporter?
Yeah, absolutely. I became a reporter because I want to inform the community, which sounds basic, but at the same time, it's so important to have reliable information out there and everything. So I became interested in that in high school and interned at a newspaper before I went to college. And I did study journalism at Ball State and worked a lot in student media, which helped kind of get me ready for all this.
Something I've noticed about you, you still take notes. You write, you
Yes.
literally, I've experienced it all. Notes, the recorder. So did you have a mentor? To me, I don't want to say, I think it's a little old school, which I love. Why is that your mentor did that, or that's just the culture of being in a newsroom?
We do really encourage it at newspapers, but I've always done that. It partially is my training, I think, but I also don't trust technology. I've had recordings where I thought I had it, and then it's like, oh, I better have enough notes to rely on. So
wow.
I've definitely been in that situation.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Ethan, what's your why? How did it?
A little different. I did not study journalism in college. I actually never watched the TV growing up unless the Packers were on. Grew up in rural Wisconsin. So if WTMJ4 was on after the Packer game, I got a little update what's going on in Milwaukee. But other than that, I studied video production. So cinematography, short films. I did some assistant directing in college. And then this is just where God had me. And I would say I didn't have a why other than, I just thought this is where God wanted me. But I'd say throughout time, you don't stay in journalism if your why is money. It's more of a community service, I would say. And that's what I've realized over time is my why is the people of Fort Wayne and the 13 or 14 counties that we cover, 3 or 4 in Ohio, the rest of Northeast Indiana. It's about the people. I mean, it makes me sad that not everyone can go to the meeting. Not everyone can get on Facebook and watch it. And they need people that can take that information and cut it up into bite-sized segments so that they can really digest and understand what's going on. So I grew up in a really small village in Wisconsin and nothing happened. If a pothole got filled on School Street, that was big news. And so with so much going on, I think it's important, and my why is the people.
Awesome. And something that I find very impressive with our local reporters here, you all do it all. You film, you edit, you produce.
Yep.
Tell me about what is that like to do it all? Share with our viewing audience. I don't think people really understand what it takes to get a report to television, and talk about that window. You're at City Council. We start at 5:30. By 9 or 10, you're doing a full-on report. Tell us about that.
So it's why if you go on LinkedIn, almost everyone you see on TV, their title's multimedia journalist. It's not reporter. So I from the beginning of my day, I work noon to 9, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so kind of a swing shift. But I get in, we've got an editorial meeting, I pitch a story, say, hey, this is what's going on at council tonight. I write scripts. I honestly record 2 hours of podcast content at WANE 15 every day as well, on Tuesdays. So I record that. I cut video because I'm going to be live at 5 previewing your meeting, so that when I'm talking, it's not just a talking head. You don't just see me looking at the camera saying, well, tonight Councilwoman Chambers is going to say this. So that's some video play. So like yesterday, I cut video of the Inca Resource Center proposed location, and I write my script. I memorize it as much as I can. I get my gear. I go on the field. You know, like Devan, I like paper notes. I've lost way too many notes apps, so I was like, didn't I write that down? And then I don't bring my laptop and I start writing scripts in the back. Because you're right, when I get back, I write the web story, I cut the video, I write the script, I upload the video, and then I talk on TV. So from beginning to end, story pitching to story ending. And sometimes on not a city council day, you might turn 3 stories in a day where it's like that beginning to end. It's, hey, we have these 3 things. We need someone to go film, edit, talk, do the web story, and then the social media push as well.
Wow.
So it's
so you literally have to edit the video as well?
Yep. And that's my degrees in, so it's not all that bad for me. I'm one of our faster editors.
Right. Are you using AI at all to edit? Or are you still?
I don't use AI in any part of my process.
Nice.
I guess technically our closed captioning is whatever an AI thinks, but I always edit it. So no, we just use Adobe Premiere Pro. So yeah, it's all by hand.
So it was a natural progression for you to become a reporter, although you didn't major in journalism.
The on-air stuff was really hard at first. I will never forget one of my first times on air was library master plan expansion. And if you call the newsroom, every phone lights up. Like I'm sure it's the same here. It's a hotline, and there's no one else in the newsroom. It's like 11:15. I got off air. I was like, man, was that good? And I pick up the phone. It's an older woman says, yeah, that new guy, he sucks, doesn't he? And I just was like, I'll let him know, I guess, and I put it down. So the editing was always first nature, but the talking on camera and the writing and like being a good journalist was not first nature.
And I must say, I've witnessed your growth.
It was a lot of growth, Councilwoman.
Yes. Ella, public radio. Tell us about your background and what was the reason that you went into the public radio sphere?
Yeah, so kind of like Ethan, I never expected to be a journalist. It wasn't some life. I knew so many people in J school who they were like, oh, I know I wanted to do this my whole life. I've been so obsessed with the news, and I was like, not me. I don't know. But I started out, I kind of fell into it and fell in love with it, and I thought I was going to be a cops and courts reporter. I at one point thought I would be a fashion reporter. I've done a little bit of everything just to sort of see what I liked. And I started out as a print journalist. I was working at the student magazine at my college, and I needed an internship, and I was desperate. I had one and it had fallen through, and suddenly it was like, okay, I need this to graduate, and I have to figure it out in the next 2 months.
And your degree is in journalism?
Yes.
Okay.
And we had a public radio station connected to our university, and every summer they did internships. And it was past the time, but I had one of the people who worked there as a professor the previous semester, and she knew my work and she knew my ethic, and she got me an interview right under the wire. And I was like, okay, well, this is just for a semester. I have no interest in broadcast, but I got to do it. I got to get it done. And then maybe within 3 weeks of doing it, I went, oh, no, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Really?
And something about audio, I just fell in love with it. The way that you can tell a story and transport a person, and sometimes it's to somewhere deeply sad, and sometimes it's to something like, I used to really love to do the Fort Wayne Community Schools turkey gobble off. That was one of my favorite things to cover when I first started here because it was the most fun audio you could get and people loved it and I loved it. And it's just been this great experience. And also like getting to work in public media really means serving the public, right? Like we have this kind of rare function where we are beholden entirely to the people who are donating, who are listening, who are tuning in every week or every day, going to the website, whatever it might be, because times are changing and less people listen to the frequency, but more people are listening on streaming. And it's really cool. I have never worked I've worked in the public sector before as like a teenager, but I've never worked in it in a way where I am so ingrained in the community and people are comfortable coming up and talking to me and they go, oh, I know your voice, I know your name.
Right.
You're nothing like I would have thought you looked like or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just very cool and I love it and it's life's calling.
I come from a family, I was a little girl, my grandparents listened to public radio, my mom, so and hence why I listen to public radio.
Yeah.
It has so many nostalgic moments and I just love public radio. And it's the voice. But it's the art of storytelling as well. You still have to have those journalist skills, but you have the art of storytelling to capture someone's attention with no visual aids, which can be complicated in the times that we live in, where 30-second sound bites and people are doom scrolling. So kudos to you for being in that medium. So we've talked about public radio, journalism, multimedia. Ethan, tell me, when you think about local media, and we have all these streaming services and all of that, pathways to get information. Tell me your thoughts about local media, why it's important. What has that experience been like for you working in local media?
I think the importance grows as we see the rise of AI and these other things that, grab information and regurgitate it in an impersonalized way. Having people that love and care about your community is vital. And I think people always say, journalists should be unbiased. And I say, well, kind of. I think we should be biased towards our community. I don't want a journalist covering Fort Wayne that doesn't love Fort Wayne.
Right.
I don't want you to be biased one side or the other politically or, towards this or that. But if you don't love the people of Fort Wayne, I don't want to consume your journalism, even if you're a great storyteller. So I think that's why the importance is growing. If you see these stories that AI couldn't capture because it can't get out in the street and talk to people and get on a camera.
Good point.
I love getting coffee with the council members. I love chatting and I love kind of probing and picking things up. I pop by your staff office sometimes. I talk to Megan about, hey, like what's going on? So there are things that AI can't do. And if we settle more and more in this information age for, well, that was good enough, or like that's what was generated, so that's fine, we're going to lose good journalism. And I think that in the face of losing good journalism becomes more important.
It does. And Devan, good journalism, correct me, is this a correct statement? Is the Gazette our last paper still printing in locally?
There are some small print publications. We're the last legacy newspaper.
So tell me about that local Gazette. You've had the opportunity to work in different sections of the newspaper. Is it called sections? Am I using the right word? Okay. Different. So tell me about that, being able to still take it to paper and know that somebody somewhere is like, I do read mine online. I still remember my dad, he said, daughter, you got to read the front page and make sure you read the Metro. If you don't read anything else, it's a bad day. But I remember my grandparents and my dad literally touching the paper and reading the paper. What does it feel like to be at this legacy paper, still in an environment where everybody's going into streaming and looking at things digitally?
Yeah, I'm happy that we can serve the community in a variety of ways because I am partial to print as well. Like one of my favorite smells is fresh newsprint. There's nothing better. And we do have a lot of print readers as well, but it has been interesting to see how it's evolved because it is so important to work toward that print product. 25, 30 years ago, it was just about the print and now it is online. So it is interesting working toward a print deadline, but then also making sure that we're meeting readers where they're at, which often is online. It still counts to be read online and social media. So that's been important too as we've kind of evolved. But yeah, I will always love the newspaper.
I love the newspaper and books still. I I haven't moved all the way into listening to books. Like, I always travel with the books. That's why I get a chance to turn the pages and all that good things. So Ella, local is where it's at, but you all have national programming blended in to the station as well. So has your reporting always been local? What does it feel like? I mean, you made a statement earlier about being able to cover Fort Wayne Community Schools, and you do different types of research on different subjects that's happening locally. What is that like to do local public radio?
It's awesome. Quite honestly, like, it's so awesome. I have always said that, like, my heart lies in local reporting. I don't ever see myself as a national reporter. It is great, especially for us, that we can feed those parts in. We can add to the global or the national conversation, and so that people are getting this holistic view of the news from one spot if they want. And it also lends to us being able to cover things a little better as well, because we can kind of tie in or tailor our news, or our not news necessarily, our coverage view to what's maybe happening nationally or globally. Especially for, like, a great example is when all of the changes were happening at the beginning of this year with I can't think of the term now, with the Burmese temporary protective status.
Yeah. Right, yes.
When all of the stuff that was happening earlier this year with the temporary protective status changes, obviously NPR was covering that nationally because it was a national story, but we have this massive Burmese population here, and we had people who were scared, who were unsure about what it meant for it to change. They were unsure if they were even affected by it, and the long and short of what I found out was that, for the most part, the majority of the population here is not under temporary protective status. They're under refugee status. And those are two different things. And it meant that people then were confused or scared about their status, and they weren't actually affected. And so we were able to have that local conversation that focused more on, if you're in Fort Wayne, this is what it means for you. So you're hearing the global, but you're not applying the global to yourself. And that is just something that I think that public radio stations in general, not just WBOI, public radio stations everywhere, get to do in a way that is different maybe than a lot of other news outlets. Just that we get to slow down a little bit. We get to slow down and take in information, and we don't have to worry necessarily about getting to our live shot or what have you, because we can take a moment and breathe and go, what actually needs to happen? And it's, it's a nice balance, I think, in, like, what you guys do in getting things out first and immediately, so that people know it is happening. And then it allows me to get to sit back and go, now what is the context that we're missing? What is the background information that people don't have? What questions do they have? And I think it all sort of blends together really nicely.
So similar to Ethan, you're writing, producing, all the things as well, but you have a little more time.
Yes.
But you wear multiple hats also.
Yes, yeah. Within the last year, we shifted my position so that I'm almost exclusively doing long form features now.
Okay.
But before that, it was like I could be working on 2 features, and then also I had to get a spot out 3 times a week, or what have you. It also depends on the nature of what we have for that day, because we are able to pull things from networks as well, which is also really nice. Public radio stations are so great about helping each other and making sure that newscasts are filled and people have time to do the things that they need to do. But yeah, it's I go out, and if I'm coming out to meet you, we do our interview, I bring it back, and then we might have to take, because we're both talkers,
right?
We might have to take a 30 or 40 minute conversation, and I go, okay, I need one soundbite from this for a 45-second piece.
I see that in Ethan as well. I'm like, how did he select that little snippet? I mean, it's a full 5-minute conversation.
And it's hard. It is hard because, depending on who you're interviewing as well, you might get a bunch of great stuff. Right. Or unfortunately, sometimes you might get I don't know if I even have a soundbite from this.
Right.
And being able to have the news acumen to pull that in, and I think a lot of that is also in the community, like Ethan was saying. Yeah. I can listen and I might go, well, I think this is interesting what you said here, but I think what the community needs to hear more is this other bit. And then I can summarize the rest of it.
Gotcha.
And that's a lot of our job, right? Just taking in information and summarizing it. And I often tell people, talk to me like I'm stupid. It's okay to talk to me like I'm stupid because I want to make sure that I get the information into as simplistic of a way that I can so that anybody reading it can understand it, even if they're not an expert in this matter.
Yeah, your ego gets crushed pretty quickly in journalism because I'm going to ask you a question that I know because I've read the agenda.
Absolutely.
I paid attention. I know how you voted. I know why you voted how you did. But I can't get on camera and say, well, Councilwoman Michelle Chambers feels like this until until I get you saying it. So
yeah. Devan, I know that you've had the opportunity to work in different parts of the newspaper, right? What has been some of the more important subjects that you've covered? And before you answer that question, what's your deadline? When you're at City Council, you're turning too real quick.
Yeah.
So what's your deadline? And then we'll move into what's been important to you. What's been those important stories that you've covered?
Yeah, so the deadline is pretty tight. I have to have everything with City Council coverage completely done by 10:30 at the latest, which a lot of nights is not so bad. Some
budget time,
exactly. Let's say budget time. It's a whole different game. Yeah, so that always does make it exciting with those evening meetings.
Yeah. So as a journalist, what has been some of the more important stories, or is there anything that you would like to cover that you're not covering right now, or are you covering, your passion right now?
Yeah, I will always have a passion for local government. And I think a big part of that is kind of touching on what Ella said too, is just there's so much that whenever you first go to a city council meeting, it's like, what is going on? So being able to take that and just really break it down, tear out the jargon and just make it understandable with the right context and nuance for an average reader. It's really rewarding, I think, particularly with local government because there is so much complicated work you all do.
Yeah, yes, it is. I agree. Yeah. Ella, what has been important to you? Because it's so broad, the reporting that you've been able to do. What's been an important or something that's been passionate for you since you've been with public access?
Yeah. I kind of
radio part.
I kind of touched on it, but almost immediately after I got here. So I got here, I started reporting in Fort Wayne in February of 2020. And we all remember what happened in March of 2020. So it was a very weird transition, right? I was coming off of college and this was my first big girl job. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, but stay at home and don't do anything and don't leave your apartment. And you can only talk to people over the phone. And it made figuring out how to make contacts in the city very weird. But also something that happened very soon after I got here was the military coup in Myanmar. And sort of very suddenly I was thrown into this niche of reporting on the local Burmese population here, which we didn't really have one. I don't know what the Burmese population is like in Ohio, but I can tell you that in Kent, Ohio, I don't think there was one. And so I had just never done that before. I was learning this whole thing, and I kind of what Ethan was saying earlier about like needing to love what you're covering to a degree. I don't want to be a helicopter journalist who falls into a thing and just goes, I guess this is what they mean, and leaves. And so it really meant like figuring that out. And some of the most incredible stories I've been able to come out with have come out from conversations and contexts that I made having those original things where I was just going to protest downtown about a military coup that wasn't even happening here.
Right.
That technically had no impact on Fort Wayne, but it had an impact on this very niche specific community within Fort Wayne who cared very deeply about this issue. And yeah, that was just incredible. And any time that I get to do that, where I get to go into a space and learn about the people that I'm covering and this community or, what's the word? I'm so sorry. My brain is blank.
It's okay.
Learn about the community or culture that otherwise I had known nothing about is so amazing.
What I find wonderful about your position is that you really do get to get ingrained in the subject matter you're researching. You have that time to get intimately involved what you're going to put the story together about. And that's not always a luxury these days,
Yes.
So that I good for you on that. So Ethan, that leads me to my next question. Why is it important that you as a local reporter are providing the local community with good information. Something that resonated with me when a few minutes ago, and you're like, I don't use AI. You still, old school. Tell me why it's so important for you as a reporter to be very intentional with the information that you are providing us locally.
I think a part of that snippet for me personally, conviction, is that I'm a Christian. I think like God wants truth. And so I think truth is a gold standard. I think that the moment where you can't trust the word that's saying, the moment that me or Devan delivers bad information about city council, then the next time you read one of our articles, you say, well, how do I know? And no, I wasn't in the room. So really, I see it's important because we're like spotlights. We're not the actors on the stage. And if the spotlight is crappy, it doesn't matter what's going on the stage because no one can see it. So it matters because we illuminate what is happening. It doesn't matter because there's eyes on me or because Devan's paper got a couple thousand views on the website. It matters because it allows people to understand what's going on. Without us, there is no one giving context or shining that light, giving you the ability to say, hey, this is truth. This is what's happening in my community. You go work a 9 to 5 and you're not going to be able, like I said, make it to the council meeting. You're not going to be able to know what's going on with the local Burmese population. So I think that's why it's so important. We are those spotlights.
Yeah, you really are. And I like that reference. You are the spotlight. So if no one has told the three of you, I want to say this to you personally because I'm a news junkie, right? So I really appreciate the fact you all are very young, but you're amazing journalists, reporters. And I appreciate the work that you've done, right? I really have a lot of respect for you and what you do in a time where it's not sexy, if that's the word we want to use, to be a stand-up and be a great reporter. So thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Devan. Thank you, Ella, for the information that you provide here locally. We have been blessed to have all three of you provide information to us locally. So let's close with a word of encouragement. If a young person is...
Sorry, could I tack one thing on just to what Ethan was saying? I'm so sorry.
Come on, Ella, we're under the minute.
I'm so sorry. Just since we were talking about AI and combating disinformation and all of that, I think that that is just such a big part of our jobs.
Yes.
And we need to talk about it just a little bit more, if that's okay for a moment, which is that I know a lot of people now get their news from social media, from a favorite influencer or Twitter or Instagram or what have you. And I really think it's so important. You're saying we're young, but there are people younger than us. I think it's so important that we're encouraging people younger than us to find news outlets, whether it's public radio, TV, the legacy paper, and find what they're comfortable with and what they trust, and are reading that and reading a diversity of it, right?
Yes.
Too, because as much as we love to think that we are all paragons of unbiased truth-telling,
never been wrong.
Never been wrong, none of us ever. It's so important to find things that you believe in and you trust, and also to be able to tell the difference.
Well, Ella, you just wrapped my last question. I was going to have everybody say why young people encourage them to get into journalism.
So sorry.
But keep up the amazing work that you're doing. I know sometimes it feels thankless, but there's some of us out here that love all the things that you have been doing. Continue to be amazing researchers, writers, and know that we appreciate you here in Fort Wayne.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Appreciate
Absolutely. So thank you for tuning in this evening. I hope you learned a lot about our local reporters. And remember, tune in, get a subscription, watch the news. We have some great reporters. Thank you, and we'll see you again next month.